Alright there everyone, hope you're all keeping safe out there during these, shall we say, troubling times? Yeah, let's stick to that, shall we? Let's not let's not tempt fate and say things couldn't get any worse. Right, today I thought I'd take a quick look at an Earthrise figure that turned up in the post earlier this morning. Oh, actually earlier yesterday morning, depending on when this video goes up. It's the Earthrise Deluxe Arcee. And hopefully this figure will be better than people have said it is, and hopefully it's better than I think it's going to be, but spoiler alert, it really isn't. It's a bit of a... Let me review the figure first, and then you'll see what I mean. While this figure is actually turning up in physical retail stalls, I think Smiths has her at the moment, I actually got mine from the fine folks over at InDemandToys, and as always, I recommend you go check them out. They're a great online store. As with most Transformers, I recommend checking out Chris McFeely's video series, The Basics. He did a great episode on Arcee, and it's highly recommended. Go check it out once you finish this video. But just as a bit of a CliffsNote version and some of my personal experience with it, I was first introduced to Arcee back in the Transformers the movie, the 1986 one, which came out a year before I was born, but I managed to catch it quite early, I think when I was 4 or 5. Back then she was voiced by the great Susan Blue, who has been a great Transformers voice talent, and I think she was a voice director in Beast Wars. I want to say yes. Go Google it. I might be wrong, but anyway, she was in that movie, and she was one of the great new characters introduced. Though, unfortunately, being the first sort of main female character in a boys' line, she hasn't been treated well in the early days by the main media. As you can see, all these images up here, all of these are official, endorsed, Hasbro released images. Just let that sink in for a moment. But despite those darker ages, she's had some good mainstream media representation. I mean, she kind of appeared in the Michael Bay movies, though they cut her role and gave it to Ironhide, but the visual design and the original toy that came from it were quite good. Susan Blue returned in Transformers Animated to play Arcee in that, even though it was only a small role, it was really good. Arcee's been in the Transformers Prime animated TV show, which she was on the main cast and probably my favourite character from it. And what's most recent? Or not? Oh, also she was in the quick flashback scene on Cybertron in Transformers Bumblebee, which is actually probably the best bit of live action Transformers ever made, so go check it out. She also made a return into the comic book pages in IDW, first appearing in Spotlight Arcee with a bit of a backstory explaining why she's quite a badass and quite dangerous really in the IDW's universe. Actually, yeah, I'm not going to spoil it actually, I won't spoil it, just go check it out, unless Chris McFeely already spoiled it in the video. Either way. And also she's appeared in the new IDW universe. Slightly different origin to her previous IDW version, but she's starting off strong. Definitely most recently has been her appearance in the Transformers Cyberverse Bumblebee series. Yet again, Susan Blue reprising the role, and this is probably the best modern Arcee outside of the comic books because she's just living her best Arcee life. And you'd think with all these different interpretations, she would have like a long history of different toys, but unfortunately, no, not really. In G1, they kind of had the idea of repainting Chrome Dome, but being a boys' line, they thought a girl toy wouldn't sell very well, so they scrapped it. It wasn't until, God knows how many years later, that we got I think it was the Transformers animated toy was the first one, then the Thrilling 30s. It's one of those two, it could be the other way around, but I think it's animated and Thrilling 30. I've had them both, they're both great toys. And that of course has been followed up by a Masterpiece version, which is okay, despite some kind of dodgy choices with the photography they did, and a Titan's Return version, which was a repaint with a different head of the Blur figure. It worked actually, it was a great sort of like non-overly feminine Arcee, but it still worked out to be a great figure. And of course, the most recent Cyberverse interpretation has had a beautiful figure actually. It's one I'm thinking I probably should have picked instead of this one. Damn it. Anyway, back to this actual figure. It's an okay figure. Okay, let me break this down. It's an okay action figure of Arcee. If you wanted an action figure of Arcee, it works. Where it fails is being a Transformer. Because really, it doesn't transform. Now, the toy itself is packed full of articulation. It has everything you expect from a modern toy. You know, it's got double jointed knees, it's got great elbows, universal shoulders, universal hips, ankle tilt and pivot, ball jointed esque head, waist swivel. Articulation wise, it's great. When it comes to accessories, the figure has 2 major accessories, or really 1 major accessory and 1 abomination. First of all, the main accessory is a small clear handgun. I'm guessing sculpting wise it's based on a gun from the movie, but it's cast in like a clear plastic, so it doesn't really look much of anything. It looks cheap, shall we say. The gun can be stored in a little divot on her back side. I'm just realising there's a lot of ports back there. That's worrying. Oh, and speaking of ports, the figure has very few like Siege or Earthrise compatibility ports. I mean, there's 1 on the back of each calf, 1 on each foot, and that's it. There's not even any of those little impact pimples you can stick effects to. I wonder if this figure was meant to actually be a Studio Series one, and they just sort of stuck it into the line. There's a thought. Now, the main offender of this figure is this quote-unquote hoverboard, which is basically 2/3 of the vehicle mode that detaches from the figure and lays on the ground like a useless lump of... okay, people complain about cliff jumpers parts forming, but this is just egregious. It doesn't do anything but lay on the floor with 2 little holes, well, 2 little bits you can attach her feet to, so it looks like she's standing on it. Oh god, it's an embarrassment, really. This is what I mean when I say it's not really a transformer, it's an action figure, because most of the transformation occurs with this little bit and the bit that's on her back as well. The figure itself does nothing, but I'll get to that in vehicle mode. And this lump and abomination can of course attach to her back to make her already quite large backpack even more ridiculously large. It's insane. It looks as if it's got more mass than she does. It's Death Stranding levels of ridiculous backpack. I don't understand why they didn't try and incorporate the vehicle mode mass into hers, but they didn't. They just shoved it on her back like this Quasimodo-esque transformation, which is, as you can see, it looks awful. Now, not all hope is lost. With the right accessories, you can make her look good. And first up is the swords from Siege Springer. They actually work really well with the figure, and are really good at recreating her look from IDW. And the figure's got the articulation to pull off some pretty decent sword swinging and sword fighting poses. And as you can see, they don't look too big in her hands, they look reasonably reasonable. And one thing I'm quite fond of doing is taking the comically oversized gun for Optimus Prime out of the accessory pack that came out for Siege and turning it upside down, giving it to Arcee as a massive underslung Gatling cannon or Gatling bazooka. It works surprisingly well and looks quite a bit like the one she used in Cyberverse. It's silly, but it kind of works with that large backpack, kind of like Aliens. Like Vasquez, that's it, like Vasquez from Aliens. She's the girl with the the woman with the massive cannon. Let's see how she compares to some other War for Cybertron figures. Up first is her movie mate, Springer. She looks a little small next to him. I think she should be maybe a head taller, but you can get away with it. It kind of works, the 2 of them together. Comparing her to her wave mate, the Alicon, or the Quintesson Alicon, I think she's still slightly too short, or maybe she's too tall. I don't actually think I've ever seen the 2 of them together, but they're comparable. Here she is next to her fellow flag former, the bi-icon himself, Spinister. They look good together, but you can really see here like they're both deluxe figures, but she is a lot smaller than Spinister. What a difference a line makes, eh? Look at that. Here she is from yet another Transformer she dealt with in the movie. It's Earthrise Starscream. And god, yeah, you can really see she looks too small. She looks really too short. I mean, the 2 of them were kind of the same height in the movie. Oh, I'm actually, yeah, this is more worrying than I thought. And finally, here she is with Optimus Prime. They kind of work scale-wise. I thought that they were doing these figures to animation scales, but quite clearly they're not. She seems way too small yet again compared to him. Right, let's leave robot mode for now and go to vehicle mode. I'm not going to show the transformation because it's completely naff. It's basically the backpack opens up into a car and you stuff underneath it. It's diabolical. I mean, don't get me wrong, the vehicle mode itself looks good from the top and sides. It looks like the animation model, which is not surprising seeing as it's not as if they actually had to make this thing transform, did they? No, they just had to make it fold up into a backpack and then clip in half and one half be a gigantic pile of... Flipping the vehicle mode over, you can see what I mean. They've just basically got Arcee doing some Cybertronic yoga to fit underneath the shell, which is folded out and folded over. This is bad Transformers engineering. I mean, it's terrible. This is the sort of thing people used to laugh at during the original RID days, with things like Sideswipe or Beast Wars Transformers had the shell just sort of like exploded apart and had a little robot inside. I expect better from Hasbro nowadays. I mean, to be honest, look, you can see she stands up with the shell of the car on her back. And if it weren't for one tiny pin, which you could probably knock out with a little bit of effort, you would have a hollow car shell and a backpackless RC figure. Two of them separate. This is bad. I mean, I'm not gonna, this is an annoying level of bad Transformers engineering. I mean, the new Cyberverse one and the old animated one, they incorporated the vehicle mode mass into the robot mode mass. They managed to get that to work. So, what went wrong here? Someone please tell me. Right, let's compare this thing to some vehicles, shall we? Here it is next to Springer in vehicle mode. It actually kind of scaled better in vehicle modes than it did in robot modes. But yeah, again, that's because this vehicle mode has more mass. Here she is next to another movie figure, in this case the Alacon in alligator mode. And while people might laugh at this figure for the way it transforms, all I can say is, at least it actually transforms. Things actually change. It doesn't just stick itself underneath a car hood. And finally, here it is with the leader class Optimus Prime from Earthrise, and I can't be bothered to look at this abomination anymore. It's annoyed me too much to continue comparing it to things. Okay, so end of the day, what do I think of it? As a action figure of Arcee, it's fine. I'm probably going to keep it to go with the upcoming Studio Series figures. But as a Transformer, it fails. It fundamentally fails at transforming. It fails at being a Transformer. Can I recommend it? If you want to get it, but honestly no, I actually don't think I can recommend it. So, that's it folks. As always, stay safe, stay sane, and I'll see you next time. Ta-da!